October 1984, Dublin. U2 should have been celebrating. They'd spent 3 years becoming one of the most ferocious live acts in rock music. War had gone platinum. Sunday Bloody Sunday was an anthem. They'd conquered Red Rocks in a rainstorm that turned into legend. Instead, they were walking into Slane Castle with nothing. No songs, no direction, no certainty they could even make another U2 record. Bono later recalled standing in those castle corridors feeling like an imposter. The Edge has described the period as terrifying. Their producer Brian Eno arrived with a philosophy that made everything worse. He wanted to dismantle everything U2 had learned to do well. This wasn't creative evolution, this was creative suicide. And they had 8 weeks to figure out if they'd survive it. By 1984, U2 had become exactly what they feared: predictable. 3 albums in, the formula was clear. Martial drums, ringing guitars, righteous fury, political anthems. Steve Lillywhite had produced all 3 records with muscular clarity. Audiences knew what to expect. Critics praised their sincerity. But Bono was suffocating. He'd spent the previous year reading poetry, visiting Ethiopia during the famine, absorbing art that had nothing to do with rock music's blunt instruments. He wanted U2 to capture something more elusive: atmosphere, ambiguity, texture. The Edge felt it too. He'd grown tired of playing the same riffs with the same effects. He wanted to explore sound as landscape, not just rhythm and melody. They needed to break U2 before someone else did. So they called Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois, 2 producers famous for creating sonic worlds, not hits. Eno's work with David Bowie and Talking Heads had redefined what studio albums could be. Lanois was a relative unknown with a gift for capturing emotional ambience. The gamble was simple: destroy U2's identity to save it. The first session at Slane Castle lasted 30 seconds before everything collapsed. U2 arrived with a handful of ideas. Fragments, really? Eno and Lanois listened, then stopped them. "Don't play it that way," Eno said. "Play it like you don't know how." The Edge has described the directive as both liberating and paralyzing. He'd spent years perfecting his technique, his delay effects, his signature sound. Now he was being asked to abandon all of it. Larry Mullen Jr. was furious. Eno wanted loose, ambient percussion, not the military precision that defined U2's backbone. Adam Clayton felt equally adrift. The bass lines that anchored War had no place in Eno's atmospheric experiments. Bono embraced the chaos. He started improvising lyrics, singing pure phonetics, treating his voice as texture rather than message. But even he wasn't sure what he was reaching for. Within days, the band was arguing. Eno would record hours of instrumental improvisations. Beautiful, shapeless, purposeless. Lanois would spend entire sessions chasing a guitar tone that evaporated the moment they tried to build a song around it. And the clock was ticking. Island Records expected an album. A tour was booked. U2 had momentum and they were deliberately killing it. The tension broke over a single song: Pride, in the Name of Love. It started as a fragment, a simple chord progression, a melody Bono hummed about Martin Luther King Jr. It should have been straightforward. It should have been exactly what U2 did best. But Eno hated it. He called it too obvious, too on the nose. He wanted to bury it in reverb, stretch it into abstraction, dissolve the anthem into atmosphere. The Edge pushed back. This song needed clarity. It needed to hit. He fought to keep the guitar riff sharp and present. The argument encapsulated everything wrong with the sessions. Eno wanted art. The band needed songs. The collision wasn't philosophical. It was existential. Meanwhile, Bono was writing lyrics he couldn't defend. Bad. A song about heroin addiction in Dublin emerged from pure improvisation. He sang it in one take, eyes closed, making up words as he went. When Eno played it back, Bono barely recognized it. A sort of homecoming came together the same way. Fragments, accidents, atmospheric sprawl. The Edge has said he wasn't sure if they were creating something revolutionary or just wasting time. Lanois became the mediator. He'd stay up all night, editing hours of improvisation into 3-minute songs. He'd find the moments where Bono's aimless vocals suddenly locked into meaning, where the Edge's experimental sounds became melodies. But even he wasn't sure it was working. 6 weeks in, U2 made the decision that would define the album. They abandoned Pride. Not entirely, they'd recorded a version, serviceable but unfinished, but they moved on to other songs, other experiments, leaving their most obvious single incomplete. It was Lanois who intervened. He pulled the Edge aside and said, "This song is too good to let die." They went back. The Edge rebuilt the guitar line, sharpening it until it rang with the clarity Eno had tried to erase. Bono rewrote the second verse, tightening the lyrics around a single image. Early morning, April 4th. Shot rings out in the Memphis sky. The date was wrong. King was killed in the evening. But the line felt true. Bono has said he valued emotional accuracy over historical precision. When they played it back, the band knew. This was the lifeline, but it also revealed the problem. Pride sounded like U2. Everything else sounded like Eno. The album was splitting in half, songs versus soundscapes, identity versus experiment, and they were out of time. The Unforgettable Fire arrived in October 1984 to confusion. Pride was an instant hit. It cracked the top 40 in multiple countries, became a live staple, gave radio something to play. But the album around it baffled listeners. Where was the anger? Where were the anthems? A sort of homecoming opened with shimmering ambiguity. Wire felt unfinished. The Unforgettable Fire itself, the title track, was a 6-minute tone poem about a Holocaust exhibition, beautiful and incomprehensible. Critics were split. Some praised U2's artistic courage. Rolling Stone called it a gorgeous, mysterious record. Others felt betrayed. The Enemy accused them of pretension, of losing the plot. Fans were even more divided. Audiences who'd screamed through Sunday Bloody Sunday didn't know what to do with Bad, a song that built slowly, hypnotically, refusing to explode. U2 went on tour anyway, and Bad became the test. In early shows they'd stretch it to 12 minutes. Bono improvising, the Edge layering delays, the song expanding and contracting like breath. Some nights it worked, some nights it didn't. Then came Live Aid. July 13th, 1985, Wembley Stadium. U2 had 17 minutes on the Live Aid stage, a slot that could define or destroy them. They opened with Sunday Bloody Sunday, safe and powerful. Then Bono made a choice. He called for Bad. The song had no hooks, no climax, no clear structure. It depended entirely on improvisation. And Bono, midway through, climbed down into the crowd, pulling a girl onto the stage, dancing with her, losing himself in the moment. The rest of the band kept playing, waiting for him to return. The minutes stretched. They had time for one more song, maybe. But Bono stayed in the crowd. When he finally returned, they had seconds left. They barely finished. They never got to Pride. Backstage, Bono was devastated. He felt he'd blown it. Wasted their biggest moment on self-indulgent improvisation. But the world saw something else. That single image, Bono in the crowd, vulnerable, unrehearsed, human, became the defining moment of Live Aid. Not the polished performances, not the hits, the risk. Within weeks, The Unforgettable Fire started climbing charts again. Bad became a fan favorite. And U2 was no longer just a great live band. They were the live band. By 1986, the narrative had shifted. What critics initially dismissed as pretension now felt like ambition. What fans found baffling became immersive. The Unforgettable Fire hadn't replaced war. It had expanded what U2 could be. Bono's abstract lyrics, which once seemed unfocused, revealed new meaning with each listen. MLK, the closing lullaby, became a concert ritual. Bad transformed into an arena anthem that worked precisely because it refused to be one. The Edge's guitar work, once criticized as too atmospheric, influenced a generation of players. His use of delay and reverb became the blueprint for stadium-sized intimacy. Even the production, so divisive on release, aged beautifully. Where War sounded locked in its moment, The Unforgettable Fire felt timeless. Eno and Lanois had created space inside the songs, room for interpretation, for emotion, for mystery. The album went double platinum. It didn't have as many hits as War, but it had something more valuable: longevity, and it gave U2 permission to make the Joshua Tree. The Unforgettable Fire rewrote the rules for what a successful rock band could risk. Before 1984, the path was clear. Find your sound, perfect it, repeat it until audiences lose interest. U2 proved you could abandon your signature and come back stronger. The album's influence is everywhere. Radiohead's OK Computer, Coldplay's atmospheric ambition, The National's lyrical abstraction, all trace back to U2's willingness to prioritize mood over message. But the deeper legacy is philosophical. The Unforgettable Fire validated artistic doubt. Bono's improvised lyrics taught singers they didn't need to have all the answers. The Edge's experimental guitar work showed that virtuosity could mean restraint. Eno's production approach, capturing accidents, embracing imperfection, became the gold standard for albums that wanted to sound alive. The record also saved U2 from themselves. Without this album, they might have stayed locked in righteous fury until it calcified into self-parody. Instead, they learned to doubt, to question, to evolve. And when they walked into the studio to record the Joshua Tree, they brought everything they'd learned from the failure and success of The Unforgettable Fire. Clarity when it mattered, atmosphere when it served the song, and the confidence to trust their instincts even when they felt lost. The Unforgettable Fire is the sound of a band refusing to be safe. It's not U2's best album. It's too fragmented for that, too willing to sacrifice structure for texture. But it might be their most important. Because it taught them, and everyone watching, that artistic identity isn't something you perfect and preserve. It's something you destroy and rebuild again and again. The album's title came from an exhibition of paintings by survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Images created from trauma, memory, and fire. Bono said the phrase captured what he wanted U2 to become. Unforgettable not because they were loud, but because they burned with something essential. 39 years later, the album still challenges listeners. It refuses to give easy answers. It demands patience. It rewards attention. And it stands as proof that the riskiest artistic decision isn't experimentation, it's playing it safe. U2 could have made War Part 2. They could have kept the formula, ridden the momentum, satisfied the audience. Instead, they gambled everything on becoming something they didn't fully understand yet. And they survived.